This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wrestling Omakase. It is episode number 181, and this week I am pleased to be joined by a returning guest and Voices of Wrestling contributor. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, John.
I called you a Voice of Wrestling contributor. What's the last thing you've contributed?
Oh, God. I did a review of... I don't even remember the show. It was a New Japan show. It was a New Japan show I wasn't particularly enthused with. It might have been one of the G1 nights.
Okay. I can't, because I was trying to remember the last time you haven't written any, columns that have gotten Cody Rhodes to DM the Voice of Wrestling account in a while. But...
Oh, yeah, I haven't done that yet. I did get retweeted by Rocky on my last article. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
The articles that piss off Cody. We need more of those.
God.
Write something about it. The AEW people have been too smug lately.
Oh, yeah, I'll be honest, man. When you watch AEW as a top heavy, if you just watch the top of the card, it's fine. I definitely think Lanza and them are a little looser on the bottom of the up mid card and the.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I find the main event stuff is usually pretty good. Everything else can border on unwatchable for me, and I just can't. I mean, putting on Dynamite is how many stupid comedy segments do I have to sit through? There's usually terrible mid-card matches. And
the middle of the card is not particularly enthralling in terms of the wrestlers. There's no one there that I'm really enthused to watch. I'm not trying to sit down and watch Best Friends versus Private Party.
It's funny, you probably just named one of the only acts in the mid-card acts in the company I kind of like.
But God, I don't like that.
I like Best Friends, but there's so many acts in that company, I have no time for it all. I mean, Dark Order,
Matt
Hardy. Oh God, Matt Hardy for sure. I don't know. I don't even like Sammy Guevara that much. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in that company. I'm just really not.
The whole.
The inner circle thing has killed. Sammy, I liked a little bit before, and same thing with what's the name. Proud and Powerful or whatever, but I don't know, Inner Circle has gotten so crappy that
I think
it's killed it for me.
Yeah, Inner Circle is it's not great. I to be honest, I think the older wrestler influence ironically is the problem.
Yeah.
I like Jericho. To me, anything he's touched I've just not been a fan of.
Yeah, the Jericho stuff has been brutal. I mean,
and I love Jericho. For me, he was until recently he was still a great wrestler, and I have him in a top 10 all time, probably top 5 somewhere in there.
Yeah,
man, it's been awful. It's just not been good. And when I watched that match he had with MJF, I thought, oh, MJF's carrying Jericho. And if you would have told me a year ago I'd be saying that, I would have, lost your mind.
At this point, I honestly, and I wasn't a big MJF fan, and he really started to win me over with that match against Moxley at All Out, which was the only good thing on that entire show practically.
That show was ass.
Yeah. Now it does feel like Jericho is dragging MJF down, which is kind of crazy to say out loud, but that's how bad this Jericho shit has gotten. I mean, who the fuck does a Hangover parody in 2020? Really fucking keeping it relevant there. But
yeah, it was not great. Though I mean, at least they did on the following show put over that young upcoming star Matt Hardy. Yeah. So I think he'll be something in about 5 years. I don't know.
Yeah, the Matt Hardy shit is awful. I don't know. There's just so much shit in that company. I have no time for it all. But that's why it makes it hard for me to get through any episode of Dynamite. I end up turning it off after a half hour a lot of times.
Yeah, I think my relative positivity towards the promotion has been because I watch the pay-per-views and I watch the top of the pay-per-views and nothing else.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, they don't have a women's division. I don't know who's in that division. I don't care. I know Sheeta's really good.
Coming out on behalf of sexism here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not good. I'm sorry. Like, if I wanted to watch good women's wrestling, I'd watch Stardom.
Yeah, or Tokyo Joshi or a million other companies.
Or literally any other company, essentially. I could watch WWE for that matter. I'm not going to.
Let's not go crazy.
I think WWE's women's division is better. I'm not.
Well, yeah. Oh, better than AEW. But you have to sit through a lot of crap, even if you only watch the women's division, I'm sure you'd have to sit through plenty of bullshit.
You would.
But I don't know. So this is not the American Wrestling Sucks podcast. We are here to talk about Japanese wrestling. I'm sure we've already probably lost a few viewers or listeners, I should say, who are probably not thrilled with the AEW bashing. But look, Jeff said it. I will agree with it. Their main event stuff has definitely gotten better. That's something. I mean, that Moxley Kingston feud was good. I mean, I'll say something positive about AEW. It's Moxley Kingston feud was really good after, which was good because that Moxley MJF feud sucked other than the match. The Kenny stuff, as much as Kenny's not my favorite wrestler, he's being presented in a much better way now. And
I agree.
I'm sure
I think it's grossly overrated, but I agree.
Yeah, it's fair. Well, a lot of things. I mean, we're trying to be positive about it. There's some good stuff there. It's just, to me, it's like really dragged down by the bullshit. And, if you listen to people who really hate New Japan right now, which I think kind of includes you,
right?
But and this part doesn't include you, I guess. But like a lot of people who I feel like are really down New Japan give AEW a pass for a lot of bullshit. And that does really annoy me. Because, like, again, I get if you're tired of run-ins or whatever, but I will take a lot of run-ins before I want to see Hornswoggle in a diaper. That's just me. If people would prefer the Hornswoggle in the diaper, which is, I made that tweet and people got mad at me. Like, oh, that's only 30 seconds. Well, it's like, well, you should, it's because it's a weekly thing. It's not Hornswoggle in a diaper every week, but there is some fucking Jericho bullshit every week.
Look. If WWE did that, they would have gotten killed.
Murdered. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and they should have, because it's fucking dumb.
So
it's not good.
Yeah.
I don't understand sometimes. I mean, and I think a lot of the people, especially with VOW, are at least consistent in that they hate what they hate. Like, I don't hear Lanza go, "Oh, I loved that Orange Cassidy match." You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I don't know. It just feels like the promotion gets a pass.
It does. But the booking gets a pass.
And it's annoying. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about
New Japan.
Yes, New Japan and DDT. The New Japan World Tag League Night 4 and the DDT D-Ou Night 1. Before I get specifically into these two shows, I want to mention, of course, that we're covering all these tournaments every day on the Wrestling Omakase Patreon. So if you want to hear daily coverage of the World Tag League, the Best of Super Junior, which we're not talking about today because there was no Super Junior show today, but this past week we did, two Patreon exclusive shows on the Best of Super Juniors, and we'll be doing another one tomorrow on Monday, Monday, November 23rd, I should say. So that'll be on night 4, the Best of Super Juniors. So we've done a ton of shows on the Patreon already this week, this past week, I should say. We have more coming this week, 4 more standalone shows, including our first D-O coverage on the Patreon, plus a Patreon exclusive doubleheader where I'll be joined by a guest, Liam McCann, actually, who's a guy I've wanted to have on the show for a while, so that'll be fun. And we'll be covering World Tag League Night 6 and D-O Night 3. So tons of stuff, basically. You sign up, it's only $5. You'll get standalone shows covering 4 different shows, and then another double show exclusive to the Patreon covering 2 more shows. So 6 shows we'll be covering this coming week alone on the Patreon, and we covered 4, I believe, this past week. Either 3 or 4, I forget. I think it's 4. But either way, I think you're getting your $5 worth. I know I'm very biased, but it's at patreon.com/Wrestling Omakase. There's a great D-Ou preview on the Voices of Omakase Patreon with myself and Jamie from the Dramatic DDT blog. We covered, everything you want to know about the D-Ou if you're looking to jump into it. As a new fan, we went down and covered, every individual wrestler in there and, what we're expecting from them in the tournament. And we covered the whole schedule. So again, that's only available on the Patreon if you want to jump in to the D-Ou coverage. So that's up there for you right now. And again, we'll be covering the D-Ou throughout the rest of the month into December on the Patreon. So it's patreon.com/Wrestling Omakase. Only $5. Tons of tournament audio this week. Tons of tournament audio this past week. More to come. Should be a lot of fun. So please check that out. The show we're here to talk about today is World Tag League Night 4 from the Saku City General Gymnasium. Now, before I get into the actual show, the other thing I've been doing a lot of, with these lesser venues, I guess you could say, that they run during the Best of the Super Junior and the World Tag League, is and people said they enjoyed this on the Patreon, so, I'll bring it here to the free feed. It's going over both the location of these venues for people who are interested in Japanese geography, and also past shows held there, because these are often venues that don't get very many shows, and and definitely not big shows. So this show is from, like I said, from the Saku City General Gymnasium. That's looks basically like it's in it's in Nagano Prefecture. So people will probably know the city of Nagano for the 1998 Winter Olympics. If you're old enough, I guess. I don't even know if you would know that, Jeff, but you're not.
That in fact happened before I was born.
Yeah.
So no.
But I was pretty young then, but there was a game for the Nintendo 64 that was probably pretty terrible, but as a kid, I really enjoyed it. So that's how I remember the Nagano Winter Olympics. But yeah, this is not quite in Nagano City though. This is a little bit to the south of that, but it's to the northwest of Tokyo. So you're well through Saitama, which is the neighboring prefecture, and then you're basically in the next prefecture over to the northwest. So this is looks like kind of a small town in Nagano Prefecture. Saku. Let's see what the population of Saku is. I'm kind of curious now. The population of Saku is it's only 99,131. Actually, a little more than I would have guessed, but it's definitely not a big city or anything. But yeah, this is a city that they don't run super often. Certainly not in the Saku City General Gymnasium. They've only run it actually a total of 5 times, counting this show. So their first time they ever ran there was in 2000 for a Best of the Super Juniors show. The main event of that show was Kensuke Sasaki, Shiro Koshinaka, and Yutaka Yoshii defeating the Team 2000 trio of Masahiro Chodo, Michiyoshi Ohara, and Satoshi Kojima. The top Best of Super Junior match, because they were only doing one Best of Super Junior match per show at this point. Wow. The only Best of Super Junior match of the show was Shinjiro Otani defeating Kid Romeo, who people might remember from the end of WCW. I believe it was the first and only WCW Cruiserweight Tag Team Champion with Elix Skipper. But yeah, so that was the only tournament match on the show, and it went 5 minutes and 37 seconds. So these tournaments were a lot different back then, I guess. But Hiroshi Tanahashi worked the opener, lost to Wataru Inoue. You wanted to add
times have changed.
Yeah. They took 6 years to come back. They finally came back in 2006 for the Best of Super Juniors again. You can see Naito and Yujiro in the opener, beating Mitsuhito Hirasawa. I believe that's the future Captain New Japan. Yes, it is. And Takashi Ueno. Don't even know who that is. That's just a guy, apparently. Not a. Anyway, so the tournament match, the main event here is Koji Kanemoto defeating Black Tiger, That probably is Rocky Romero. Yes, it is. So there you go. Then 2011, 5 years later, they come back for G1 Climax Special Night 2, so not an actual G1 show. That was main evented by the team of Goto, Naito, and Tiger Mask, defeating the team of Nakamura, Yujiro, and Gato. So just a house show here.
That match was actually probably pretty good.
Yeah, probably.
2006, yeah.
No, 2011.
Oh, 2011, gotcha.
Yeah.
That still would have been pretty good.
4 years later, they come back in 2015 for a New Japan Cup show, Night 2, actually, which it looks like this was... Well, what the fuck? Where's the New Japan Cup match? So they did a New Japan Cup tour show and didn't have a single New Japan Cup match on the card, if this cage match entry is to be believed. That's kind of crazy.
They stiffed the crowd on that one.
They stiffed the crowd. Main event was Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows, and Bad Luck Fale beating Okada, Nakamura, and Yoshihashi. What a main event, folks. It sounds terrible.
You know, when I think of how bad 2020 New Japan is, I don't hearken to those days in particular.
Yeah, I don't think 2020 New Japan's bad, but anyway. 5 years later, over 5 years later, is when they came back with the Best of the Super Juniors and World Tag League, in this case, World Tag League Night 4. So there's your history, folks, of New Japan at the Saku City General Gymnasium in Saku, Nagano. This show, on the other hand, was not that great. It really wasn't. I mean, look, this is... It pains me to come on the air. Again, I just disagree with Jeff on... I enjoy 2020 New Japan, and I think these tournaments have both been pretty good so far. Maybe the Best of Super Junior has been a little underwhelming, on the scale of Best of Super Juniors, but it's still been pretty good. The World Tag League, I think the first 3 nights of this were pretty great on the scale of World Tag Leagues. Like, I thought, especially the Korakuen, which was, I believe, their night 3, which was just a really good show with like 2 4-star matches. This show, on the other hand, was not good. I mean, there was basically one match here, if I was going to do the old Joe Lanza spoil-free recommendations, that I would tell you to watch, which is the Empire against Finjuice, the semi-main event. That was worth watching. The rest of the card, pretty skippable, and a couple matches one match in particular that I think was like actively bad, but we'll get into that. But yeah, not a good show here. Easily the weakest show of the 4 World Tag League shows so far, and I would say probably weaker than all of the Best of Super Junior shows so far too.
I kind of agree with your sentiment on the Battle of the Super Juniors. I'm usually a juniors guy. Like that's typically the division I cling to mostly. It's my favorite division in New Japan, and I think historically it's its best division. Like, it has the most consistency. I just think it's really the flagship division to me, even if they don't push it as such. And I think COVID definitely hurts, because a lot of what I enjoy about Battle of the Super Juniors is you get that kind of international flair.
Best of the Super Juniors. I don't know why you keep calling it Battle.
Oh, best. Damn. Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
You did. I was going to let it slide for once, but you did it a second time.
Yeah, I don't ask. But I read something. Anyway. Typically, I mean, if you look at it historically, it gets a lot of your international flavor. And
obviously this tournament would be a lot better if Dragon Lee was in it, if ACH was in it.
Yeah, you get your Americans in it, and your luchadors. And even I think when the luchadors, or, whoever they bring over from... America isn't great, even if they aren't great, it still has that kind of unique dynamic to it that I think is really appealing. I just like that kind of world clash, and I always thought that was cool. Even with like the Hiromu now Ryu Lee feud, where it was one of the best luchadors in the world versus this typical Puro Junior style guy in Hiromu, and I loved that clash. And it
it works because Ryu Lee also is kind of a mark for Japanese wrestling and puts out a lot of that into his style. And Hiromu's
kind of a mark for lucha in a way.
Yeah, so they both are crossover guys. Mm-hmm. But but obviously it'd be better if those guys were in. They're not in, so what are you going to do? Right. I don't think the tournament's been bad. I think it's been pretty good. But like through the first 3 nights, I was enjoying the World Tag League better, which I would not have guessed going in. But this night here definitely was a drag on the World Tag League. I hope it's
not great.
I hope it's a one night thing. Being in a very small building and not a small city, but definitely not a shitty. We went over the cities that they I think I said shitty. We went over the cities that they run pretty often, and we went over like, oh god, what am I trying to say here? I went over the last times I've run this city, and it clearly is not very often. So nobody has the Saku City General Gymnasium circled on the calendars. I guess the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I don't think they were putting on any of the more interesting matchups.
The guys weren't trying that hard either, which is what
there was a lot of lazy work on the show.
There was one guy in particular who tried way harder on this show than he has so far on this tour, and I'll mention him when we get there, and it's very funny to me. But most of the other people on this show just were not trying very hard, I think.
Phoning it in, yeah.
Definitely phoning it in. But, you're gonna have those kind of nights on a tour like this, I guess, and we'll hope it's a one-night kind of thing. The opener was the non-tournament tag, Satoshi Kojima and Tomoaki Honma defeating Yuji Nagata and Yota Tsuji. Kojima pinning Tsuji at 8:53 with a lariat. I don't have a ton to say about this, just like on the, if you've been listening along the Patreon, I haven't talked a lot about these non-tournament tags. Just they're kind of all the same. I mean, look, this was fine. It's like a 2 3/4 star match probably. There was Nagata taking it to Honma was fun. Tsuji took a really great bump for the final Kojima lariat, like spinning in midair. So it was a solid little opener, but obviously nothing you got to go crazy to watch or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think it was anything special, and it's kind of sad for me seeing the dads are starting to look a lot older all at once, all of them. And it's kind of like, I mean, they're still good, I'll still take a Kojima singles match tomorrow, but I think we're gonna get new dads soon. Not all of them all at once, but I mean, you know what I mean. We're gonna start seeing some of the your go-tos.
They already
Tanahashis.
Well, I don't think Tanahashi's close to being a dad. Goto
really?
to dad status? No.
3 years, I think.
5, maybe 3. I don't know.
God,
but 3 years
so.
3 years isn't that close to being a dad. But look, Tanahashi is probably 3 years away from being Togi Makabe, and Makabe's not a dad. Makabe's like the border between dad and not dad. So
yeah, maybe he'll probably ride that border for a while. You're right.
Yeah. Match number 2: Sonata and Shingo Takagi defeating Chase Owens and Bad Luck Fale. Sonata pinned Chase in 9:45 at the O'Connor Bridge. That moves the LIJ team to 3-1 and drops Fale and Chase to 0-4. So Fale was the guy I was talking about. It is so fucking funny to me. Like, this Chase and Fale team have been awful on the first 3 nights. The only bad thing on the first 3 nights, honestly, like, they didn't break 2 stars for me before this. Like, I was at, let me see the ratings here. 1.5, 1.5, 1.25. I thought they'd been horrific. But this match was actually pretty good. I thought this was fun. I thought Fale, like, after sleepwalking at Cork and friggin' Hall, he's like, oh, the Saku City General Gymnasium. Time to try. And it was just very bizarre that he, like, gave his biggest effort here on this fucking show, in this obscure little building. The Sonata Shingo team has been good all throughout this tournament. I thought they really complement each other really well. So there was a whole lot of LIJ merch in this crowd when they came out. There was a lady with, like, a homemade fan that said SND TKG, I guess because Sonata called him TKG at the end of the last show at the Kurikan Hall. But yeah, I mean, it was, your typical kind of Chase and Fale jumping them to begin with. Fale came after that and I thought it was amusing that he told the crowd to shut the fuck up while they were clapping for Sonata. And it's like, technically they're not saying anything, sir. they can't shut up more than they are right now. But yeah, they beat on Sonata for a while. Not very interesting offense. But then, we got the comedy spot of Chase trying to put the Paradise Lock on Sonata, which I always enjoy. And he started asking for help from Milano on commentary. And Milano actually, like, stood up and started demonstrating one of the steps, which was kind of funny. We got the hot tag to Shingo. He hit, like, lariats on both guys. A shoulder block on Chase. He tried to get Fale up for the last of the dragon. He did get him up part of the way before Fale knocked him off. And then Shingo was able to, he hits one pumping bomber. Fale kind of no-sells it. Fale goes for his own lariat, and then Shingo hits a second pumping bomber, and he finally does go down. And like I said, Fale may have done more in that 30-second sequence than he had in his entire tournament up to that point. And then, Shingo and Chase had a fun little exchange, with Chase trying to hang with Shingo. Sanada ends up tagging in after that and gets, double teamed by the heels, and Chase hits a nice running knee attack, almost like a knee Shining Wizard for a 2 count. Chase goes for a package pile driver. Sanada gets out. Fale comes in to help Chase again, but Sanada sends them into each other. Fale ends up running Chase over by accident. Shingo hits a lariat on him all the way to the floor. Sanada goes for skull end, but you think that's the finish because we just had the big clothesline and everything sending out Fale, and then instead Chase rolls him out of nowhere and gets a super close 2.99 count. So that was pretty great. And then he tries another schoolboy for another close near fall, but then Sanada gets the O'Connor roll, and that gets the pin. This was the best Fale and Chase match this tournament so far by a million miles. I went 3 1/4. I just thought this was a pretty good match, and again, like I said, they hadn't even broken 2 stars for me before this. So this ended up being one of the better matches on the entire show, unfortunately, which, that speaks to some of the rest of the show. But yeah, Shingo and Sanada continue to be a fun team who complement each other pretty well, and Fale actually kind of tried, so good for him. And Chase was good too. So good little opener.
Yeah, I really like this Shingo Sanada team. Actually, they're the bright spot of World Tag League for me. I think they work a lot better than Sanada and Evil did. Just in terms of in-ring, I think Shingo can kind of carry the team. And I think he's a better workhorse than Evil. I don't think that's a hot take. And Sanada has they have a unique kind of chemistry post-match too.
The quiet guy, the loud guy.
Yeah.
It does work.
So it's a neat combination. I'm a little sad that, odds are they're not winning. I don't think, maybe. I don't know who Shingo's facing for the Never title, but I have a feeling it's probably not happening. And, but I hope this is a fixture in the division for a while because I really like it. And I would love to see them get a little bit, featured a little bit, but I doubt it. They'll probably just be a World Tag League thing.
Yeah, probably. Any other thoughts on the match?
For whatever reason, I really liked the pumping bomber Fale spot. I thought it was funny, and Fale worked really hard for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, like I said, he sleepwalks at Korakuen Hall, has a horrific performance at Korakuen Hall, and then comes to Saku City, is time to turn on the engines.
I don't get it.
It's really funny.
Pretend I get it.
Maybe he just likes the city. I don't know.
Yeah, they might have a good food joint or something. He invited him to the show.
Yeah,
figured he'd put on a good show. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he's a really good sponsor in Saku City.
Yeah.
Match number 3: Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi and Toa Henare. Goto pins Henare after the GYW in 12:39. So Goto and Yoshi are 2-2, and Tana and Henare are 0-4. This was one of the more disappointing matches on the show. This is something I was looking forward to, but it really didn't turn out to be much of anything. There was a Goto and Yoshihashi worked over Henare for a while. Not terribly exciting stuff. Tanahashi got the hot tag and ran wild. He, did his usual crushing flip senton on Goto. Henare got a chance to go, kind of go on offense after that as well. He showed some pretty good offense. But he gets cut off again by Goto and Yoshihashi. They put together a nice little combination with, Goto has him up for the Uzi-Goroshi. Yoshi super kicks him up there. Goto hits the move, and then Yoshi hits his double knee attack as soon as Henare lands. That was good stuff. But then when Tanahashi came back in to save Henare, they did that double sling blade sweep kick combo again, which again, people who listen on the Patreon will know I kind of buried the move the first time I saw it, I think at Korakuen. And, it may have looked even worse here with just Henare, the kick from Henare. I don't know, there's something about the timing of it. It's just so slow. It just doesn't really work. They should honestly stop doing it if they can't make it look better. Hinari had a big spear on Yoshihashi for a 2 count. That did look good. And then there was this weirdly awkward sequence where like Hinari was trying to go up against both Goto and Yoshihashi by himself, but they seemed on different pages. Like everything just looked weird and not very good. I did like how the Chaos team put Tanahashi down with a double team Dragon Screw. That's similar to what Dangerous Tekkers always does to him in these tag matches, which is interesting. It's like, they've found the combination to beat Tanahashi in tags, and now other teams are copying it. So that was kind of cool. And then they pinned Hinari after the double team GYW after they just had finished off, had taken Tanahashi out of it. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is basically that's how this team is going, basically, where, Tanahashi keeps getting taken out of these matches and then Hinari keeps getting pinned. So, Tana's not strong enough to carry the team. It's basically the idea, I guess. But yeah, this was fine. Not really much more than that. Like I said, pretty disappointing. There were just some sequences that didn't play out as they probably had hoped. So I went gentleman's three on this. It was fine.
Yeah, that's about where I was at. I just kind of went 3 flat on it. There wasn't anything interesting about it. I keep waiting for Hinari to have his big kind of pop. You know what I mean? Like, I'm waiting for him to have this performance where I think, oh, that's a guy that's going to be a fixture in some division for a while. It just never comes.
Really, I think he's been good in this tournament so far, but he didn't look great on this show. But I thought like that match where him and Tanahashi fought the Dangerous Tekkers on night 2, that was awesome, and I thought a big part of that was Hinari. But
he was good. I don't know. I was really hoping he would be like, and I guess it's a high bar, but I was hoping he'd be like the next Ishii or somebody who could fill that role, and I just haven't seen that. Like, I haven't seen that kind of fire.
I mean, again, the comparison to, like, one of the most highly regarded workers of all time.
Right. I know.
I mean,
well, I mean, just that never-style guy in general. That I guess could handle that middle. But because I really liked Hinari as a young lion, so I had that in my head. It does suck to see, as a noted Tanahashi stan, I am nothing if not a Tanahashi stan. Watching his descent down the card feels bad man territory. Not that it's not been happening for a while, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it is jarring. It is jarring.
It is, because just a year ago he was, I still thought he was a top guy, but it's. I mean,
in hindsight, it was the 2019 G1. Like the moment he goes, because that was I'm almost positive his worst G1 performance in like fucking 15 years or something.
It was,
and he just once he was like out of it by the end. Well before the end, because he went like 4-5, I think, right?
I think 5-4, 4-5, something like that.
And so like he just once he was like out of it in the G1 pretty early, like he's approaching Goto territory now. So I guess we'll see what happens with him going forward. But I mean, his big match for Wrestle Kingdom might be putting over Okan. So I guess we'll see.
That's gonna hurt my heart, man. I hate it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and this is how Puro works, I mean, especially for wrestlers who stay in the same promotion. There's a date, and then it's kind of you just immediately descend down the card.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to be talking this way about somebody who had the world title effectively less than 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Even if it was just for
that's gonna end up being the last run of his career, though. I think
it is.
But yeah, like unless they do like the Fujinami. One last run kind of thing, which I guess is possible.
I think that was his Fujinami last run.
Well, yeah, but it was a month long.
Yeah.
You could be right though, because the run also includes like him winning the G1 and everything. So it could have been it. Yeah,
that's kind of what you won the G1. You beat you beat Kenny, and
it could have been it.
Yeah.
The next match, Evil and Yujiro Takahashi defeating Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano. Evil pinning Yano in 11-16 with the Evil. So the Bullet Club team goes to 3-1, and Ishii and Yano go to 2-2. The first thing I'm going to say here is I think Evil and Yujiro in their first 3 matches were pretty good. I went 3.5 stars on 2 of them. I went 3.25 on another one. I thought they've been a good tag team. This match fucking sucked. This match was bad. I mean, I don't know what... I mean, look, the big problem here was that Toru Yano worked a lot of the match for his team, and God bless Toru Yano, but I mean, you have him in there instead of Ishii. That's going to be a major negative factor. And the two teams, both just clearly took the match off. A lot of this was like taking off turnbuckle pads, and it's just a lot of junk. There was also a sequence with like Evil, Ishii, and Dick Togo that was pretty terrible, where Togo went to trip Ishii. Ishii forgets to sell the trip, which is on him. Togo gets up on the apron and has to just like kind of find some other way to stop him, and he like punches him once. Then he goes to hold Ishii for Evil, but Evil takes so long to run over to, accidentally collide with Togo, that Togo actually looks back like, where is Evil? And it makes it even stupider that they collide. But yeah, I mean, the Dick Togo really hadn't been that bad in this tournament until today, but this stuff was bad. He comes in with the Spoilers choker on Yano. Yano hits like a low blow kick to get out of it, and it's like, why didn't everybody else do that? It's like just a very, like, nobody else thought to just low blow this guy.
Well, Naito is nothing if not honorable, so...
Yeah, well, Naito did low blow him eventually, I think.
Yeah, I know.
But it took, like, 4 tries. Like, Yano thought of it immediately.
He's just not as smart as Yano. He just didn't figure it out.
I guess. We did get a really close near fall with, like, Ishii lariating Evil into a Yano schoolboy. That was fine. But then Evil and Yujiro ended up giving them double low blows. I don't know where the fuck the ref was through all this. We really couldn't even see at that point. And Evil hits the STO on Yano for the pin. So like I said, they've been some... The Evil Yujiro team I thought had been like shockingly good up to this point. But this match was clunky. It was awkward. It was uninteresting. Ishii barely got anything to do. His only big spot he fucked up. And Yano worked a lot of the match. And Evil and Yujiro didn't seem to care here at all, which, they had actually worked pretty hard, especially Yujiro, on prior shows. But they took this night off for sure. I gave it 2 stars, which is probably a little generous, but not a good match.
Quick question. Do you think the interference in some of the matches this year has just, in general, been pretty clunky?
Some of them are.
Would you agree? Do you think that might be part of why people are like...
No.
No? Okay.
Everybody hates the interference because people don't want that in New Japan. People
fair.
Hate it. I mean, that's not what they want out of Japanese wrestling.
That's fair. I just noticed, like... So to me, Jay White's interference stuff is usually pretty...
Well, White and Gato are the best people at it. That is for sure.
Yes. And then, like, I noticed Dick Togo and Evil, and it always looks pretty clunky, and it makes everyone look dumb, honestly. Like, and I think that's where it bothers me the most. Like, if it was restricted to, Jay White and Gato doing, silly shenanigans, I'd be fine with it. But I don't think Dick Togo has been very good. I think Evil and Yujiro have been surprisingly good on the tour. I thought that would be the worst team in the tournament, or at least one of them, and it hasn't been. But yeah, this match was kind of an egg, but I don't know necessarily that they were to blame for it, to be honest.
Ishii and Yano did not give a shit either.
Yeah, I mean Ishii was taking the night off.
Ishii clearly was like, he barely was in the ring, honestly. And if Yano is Yano, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yano's great at comedy, but like when it comes to non-comedy stuff, he's not gonna, especially if he's not gonna try very hard. I mean, he didn't even do his belly to belly. His belly to belly suplex is awesome, but he didn't even bother with that.
Yeah, man,
because they just had a fucking 4-star match for me at least, with Goto and Yoshihashi at the Korakuen, and Yano worked plenty of that match, and he was good. So I guess it's just an effort thing. Yeah, it's an effort thing. I mean, Yano did the belly to belly in that match. He did some other like little stings, and obviously Ishii worked a lot of it too, which helped. But yeah, this match just was not good. I mean,
I'm just pining for the Yano shooter tour.
Yeah,
that's all I'm pining for. I want Ishii and Yano, but I want Yano to have been hit in the head really hard, and he comes back as like a shooter Yano.
He does all the amateur spots.
Yeah, Inokiism Yano. He comes back, he just starts double legging people and throwing them around. God, that would.
The semi-main event, the Empire team of Great Okan and Jeff Cobb defeat FinJuice. A little surprising, maybe. Jeff Cobb pins David Finlay in 15-13 or 15-15 with the Tour of the Islands. So Empire is 3-1. FinJuice are now 2-2. This was the match of the night, by a pretty wide margin, I think. I mean, I guess not 3.5 stars. So it's not like it was an awesome match or anything, but it was a good match. Started out a little bit slow. They were targeting Cobb's arm. Probably not the worst idea. The Empire team turned things around by isolating Finlay. Juice got the crowd really fired up, or what passes for that, for a clap crowd. The most they got into anything all night. So I think Joe Lanza made that point on the flagship that Juice really gets a lot of these clap crowds, and it definitely was true here. Finlay does finally get the tag, and then Juice hits a series of punches. Nice falling clothesline, and then a Manhattan drop on Okan, followed by a kind of awkward-looking spin kick. Heads up top and gets a nice crossbody on Cobb for a 2 count. Okan and Cobb then cut Juice off and started like a second heat segment on him. And I liked Okan, just like pounding on Juice in the corner with shots to the gut. Like he has good like physical charisma, which elevates like little spots like that. Juice was, I think, the first guy in history to dodge the sliding tree of woe kick from Okan, unless Okada did, and I forgot about that, but I don't think he did. That lets him tag in Finlay. Finlay hits this nice jumping uppercut, big drop kick on Cobb, and a plancha on Okan. So good stuff from Finlay. He keeps running wild on both guys back in the ring, hits one of his spinning uppercuts off the second rope, which Okan takes like a shockingly nasty bump for. He just lands like right on his neck. I was like, geez, buddy. Almost like a Naito level of like taking a nasty bump when you probably didn't have to. Finlay goes for an exploder. Okan blocks it, gets one of his judo throws to take Finlay down before he tags out, which again, if people haven't heard on the Patreon, I've really liked that Okan like adding that element to his wrestling style more and more, like just throwing in his legitimate martial arts background. I think that's going to help him go a long way, honestly. We get the delayed gut-wrench suplexes from both Okan and Cobb. Always an impressive-looking spot. Finjuice came back with the double drop kick, Russian leg sweep combo. They had a double flapjack on Okan. Now, there's unfortunately a bad spot here where Cobb lost track of what he was doing or something. He tried to attack Juice before Juice was supposed to tag out to Finlay. So Cobb ends up looking like kind of an idiot, just lunging at Juice where he's not actually supposed to cut him off. So it looked pretty bad. I had to take points off for that. It just looked like they had no idea what they were doing. The camera also missed Okan hitting the claw slam on Juice. Not the fault of the wrestlers, but not good by the camera team there. Khan tries to hit the same thing on Finlay, but Finlay counters into a stunner. That looked awesome. He then countered the Tour of the Islands as well into a big DDT. He went for the acid drop, but Cobb countered that in midair, straight back into the Tour, and that gets the pin. This was a good match, and this show really needed it. It's a really fun power versus speed battle. The finishing sequence was a blast. I wish they had showed the claw slam, but it was. I went 3.5. Maybe would have gone a quarter star higher if not for that. Embarrassing moment with Cobb just before the finishing stretch got going. But this was good. The Empire team continues to be a lot of fun as these powerhouse heels who don't need to cheat to win, which kind of stands out among New Japan heels at this point. And them standing over the fallen Finjuice on the outside after the match was a great visual. So, they're just a team I'm really into right now. They're one of the highlights of the tournament so far.
Yeah, noted Enochiism enthusiast John from Omakase.
Why? What did I say?
Liking the judo throw.
Well, the judo throw is also. I don't hate Enochiism. I don't know why you're saying that. It's some kind of gotcha. I like a lot of that Enochiism stuff. I know. I get it. But...
I mean, actually, I did too. I prefer that style to a lot of things. Actually, we're not doing a discussion on Enochiism. I think it's fine. I'm not as into Okarn as a lot of people are. I don't like the gimmick. It's not for the.
But the new look is good though. He got rid of the goofy because Joe keeps saying he misses the fucking goofy pants. I don't get I think now he basically refined the gimmick down to where he's still doing the Mongolian chops. He still yells. It stands out. But it's nowhere.
That's the part I don't like.
Okay, but I'm saying the gimmick as a whole is nowhere near as goofy now. Without that goofy outfit, he moved the question mark down off his fucking eyes, so it looks like he can see when he comes out. Which I don't know why that's such a big improvement to me, but it looks way better now. But yeah, I just think his look now. He looks like a regular. I mean, look, you could say he doesn't stand out as much, but I think his physical charisma and his that helps him stand out still. I don't think he needed the extremely goofy outfit, but He
clearly has the tools. I just don't know what happened. And this has been the last few Young Lion, or last couple, I guess. I don't know what happened to just debuting somebody and allowing them to kind of find themselves. But
well, yeah, they don't do that anymore, clearly.
Yeah, I don't know why this has become the 80s WWF factory of wrestlers, but it's not my gig.
Well, the last guy who came back as himself, I guess, was Hiromu, right? I mean, even Sho and Yo, I mean, they didn't really have that big of a gimmick, but they still like shortened.
I think they were acceptable.
Yeah, they shortened the names, and yeah, I guess they count. So they would be the last
even Jay White. I mean, he had a gimmick, but
that's true.
It was clearly easier to work through than.
But I think they are getting Great Okan more and more like he feels more comfortable, and he feels like he fits in more as a New Japan wrestler to me by the day. Like I think the gimmick was too goofy when he first came back, and now that they've toned it down quite a bit already, I think it really fits in well. But
right, well, I think Okarn. Like, I don't hate Okarn as a worker. I don't like the moveset. I think it's a bit silly, but I think he's clearly very talented. Like, I think you can modify a couple things and he'll be really good.
Yeah, and I think they will.
So, I think that's what's frustrating, and that's also what's frustrating for me with like Kawato. Like, maybe he doesn't have the ceiling of the other juniors, but there's very clearly a niche he can fulfill. Yeah. And I just think he's has the baggage of his gimmick, and I think if the gimmick doesn't amplify you as a guy in ring, then it's not necessary.
Well, Wato's different. I mean, if he comes, I don't know. Like, if he came back as just like goofy faced Hirai Kawato, would that really get over? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's an open question, I guess. But I'm not I'm not really that worried about the Master Wato thing doesn't bother me that much because I never thought his ceiling was very high anyway. So,
no, he was just the guy who gets a win over the heel on the last night of Super Juniors after losing every other match.
Well, they're pushing him a lot harder than that so far.
Yeah, which I don't think fits him.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, what do you think of this match?
The match itself, I liked it. Like, it was my favorite match of the night. I think Cobb he's starting to fit in a little bit better in New Japan. I think that started with G1. I didn't like his first G1 run at all.
I agree. Yeah.
But I thought he looked a lot better in this one, and I thought he looked pretty decent here, other than the fuck up with Juice.
Yeah.
I think Juice has really. He's weird to me. There are times I watch Juice and I think they should just put the rocket on him, and there are times where, like, he clearly has charisma because the crowds get very behind him, and he's able to manipulate them to do things, and it's impressive. But I'm never enthralled with his actual work.
I agree. You know whose work is really good now? Finley.
Finley is great.
Finley is like
I love Finley.
Finley, I don't know when that happened, but like all of his like his stunners and DDTs and stuff, and like
they look so crisp.
Yeah, he looks really good. His work has gotten. I mean, he was never a bad wrestler to me. Like I like his Young Lion stuff, but the last year or so, he's gotten his moveset has gotten so much better.
It's better, and his strikes look better. Like everything he does just looks sharper, and I love it.
Yeah, his look is
it's
better
that little
too.
stuff I like. His look's a lot better.
Yeah. So,
I mentioned that last time I was on, actually.
Yeah, so I mean, Finley's a guy to me who has, honestly, I think he has more room to grow at this point than maybe even Juice does.
Yeah, I think I would start. Plus, he already has a built-in feud with Jay White, who's going to be at the top of your card for a while. So, to me, he's the natural guy I would build up. Yeah. I think Juice is eventually going to fall behind him. I think Juice is kind of peaked.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, the match was good, but it wasn't anything I can comment on. It's there, much like most of World Tag League, or most of the night. Excuse me.
Most of the night, yeah. The main event: Guerrillas of Destiny defeating Dangerous Tekkers. Tama Tonga pins Zack Sabre Jr. in 1851 with the Iron Fingers from Hell. That moves God up to 3-1 and drops the Tekkers down to 2-2. This was really disappointing. I mean, this was a match I was curious about more than anything, and especially with how great the Tekkers have been throughout this entire tour. But this was just a match, basically. I mean, there was. It was kind of funny that, unlike everybody else in New Japan, apparently, the Gorillas have no respect for Taichi singing because they jumped him as soon as he entered the ring. I did laugh because it's nobody out, no matter who Taichi faces, nobody ever interrupts his singing. And it's you'd think somebody would be like, well, fuck this guy, and just jump him. And Gorillas were finally the people who did it. And Zack was not even through the curtain when they jumped Taichi, because he always comes out pretty far after Taichi does. So he had to run down there after he came through the curtain. And the way he yelled, you cheeky bastards, as soon as he got in the ring, that was pretty funny. He got double teamed as well. They brawled all over the ringside area. Taichi and Zack finally got the edge by locking in the stretch plum and a front guillotine, and they tried to rub back so they can take the count out, but both GOD members were able to just barely get back. But yeah, I mean, GOD cut off Zack for a while. Zack made the hot tag to Taichi. I did find it very funny that he did the first ever choking comeback. Like, he cleaned house for chokes. That was very amusing to me. He even choked Jado down, too, when he tried to get up on the apron. And then the GOD team finally decided to just choke him back, which is fair. But Taichi ends up taking them both out with an enziguri and an axe bomber. Tonga Loa hit a pretty nice German suplex on Taichi. Taichi no-sold it. Tonga then took him down with a big lariat after that. And I've mentioned this before again on the Patreon, which I'm sorry if you're getting annoyed with hearing that, but that's where I've been talking about the World Tag League. Tonga Loa is probably better than his partner at this point. I think his moves look a lot better than they used to, and I think he might have surpassed Tama Tonga, honestly, and that's kind of crazy from when he first came to New Japan, where Tonga was clearly needed to be protected, and his brother was still better. You're gonna add something?
Well, it's like the story of Samson, where Tonga got rid of his hair. Tama got rid of his hair, and it's all downhill from there. He got rid of the beard. I don't like the look without the beard at all.
I don't like the look either without the beard. He looks like a guy, basically.
Yeah, he looks so much. I don't know who told him that was a good idea, but he needs to never listen to them again. Yeah. And if it was himself, he needs to quit listening to himself.
But Tonga, this is more about Tonga Loa, though. I think Tonga Loa's gotten better.
So. He has. He's definitely improved, but I think Tama looks a little.
That's fair.
Off.
Yeah. So Zack and Tama got tagged in. We got a cool sweep kick from Zack. He raised his arms in the air while sitting down, like he was enjoying getting to play babyface. But then the ending happened. So we got a visual tap out as Tama taps out to a Zack leg hold. Jado has the ref. Zack goes after Jado. Red Shoes gets bumped thanks to Tama. Taichi tries to take advantage. He chokes Tama with the microphone stand. Jado chokes him from behind with the kendo stick. They get into a kendo stick versus mic stand duel. Taichi low blows Jado, sends him out. Tonga uses the mic stand on Taichi from behind. Zack uses the kendo stick on Tama from behind, but then Tama uses the iron fingers on Zack from behind, and that gets the pin. This just wasn't all that great. I mean, there was some stuff here I liked. The count-out tease was cool. Taichi's choking comeback, like I mentioned, ruled. There was some good action in the middle of the match, but I hated the finish. And it's this is exactly the kind of finish that gives a ton of ammo to the people who are just fucking furious about the run-ins and interference. And, I get what they were going for. There's, with the escalating weapon attacks, but, it just ruined the match for me when it had just gotten pretty enjoyable. And there is an irony here to the Techers, winning more and more of their matches cleanly. And Taichi even mentioned backstage at one point that he's not even sure if he needs the Iron Fingers anymore. I can't remember the last time he even used them. It might have been, against Ibushi or Tanahashi in the New Japan Cup, I think. Maybe?
No, he used them at the Jingu show.
He did use them at Jingu. I don't remember that. Well, there you go.
Don't ask how I remember that.
Yeah, but it wasn't the finish, I don't think.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
absolutely
okay,
wasn't.
So there you go. Because I remember the finish. I remember them just hitting that move out of nowhere and the Zack Mephisto. But yeah, he because he continues to bring them out with him, his past ends up biting him here. And, they use it on Zack instead. I like that part of it, but they should have just had Tama use the fucking fingers instead of doing all the other bullshit leading up to it, too. So this is 3 stars for me, which pains me to say, because the Techers have been awesome in this tournament. I mean, I've got the rest of their tournament. I have 2 4-star matches for them already. But, this match was not that great. It was a fine match at best. A gentleman's 3 again. But, just too much bullshit at the end. Too much, some bullshit at the start. When they actually did wrestle each other, I thought that some of the action was pretty damn good, but just not enough of it, to go higher than 3 stars. So,
yeah, I'm pretty much there. Yeah, I didn't like the finish at all. It's probably not a shock. I'm usually a GOD guy. I usually actually pretty much like the GOD. I guess I'm kind of a fan of those kinds of tag teams, but they haven't been good for a while, I think. And I really like Techers, but they putting anyone in a 20-minute match with GOD is asking a lot, I think, anymore. Yeah, I was a little disappointed in it. I was actually looking forward to that when the tournament started, so.
Yeah, just not a great match at all. Overall, this was easily the worst night of the World Tag League so far. Very disappointing after a strong first 3 nights. But, if you haven't been watching up to this point, I would say skip this show, go back and watch that Korakuen instead. Because that World Tag League Korakuen was great. This show was not good at all. So hopefully it's a blip and they get things back on track quickly. But.
If I can jump in for a minute, do you think there's any chance that they're kind of positioning Suzuki-gun as like LIJ style babyface?
I think I said that theory in the Voice Wrestling Slack before. Yes, I do think.
Oh yeah,
I do think Suzuki-gun are eventually. I think we're already slowly seeing this because the Empire are clearly going to be heels, right? Mm-hmm. So
Bullet Club are heels.
Bullet Club are super heels. They're still going to be the biggest heels. So and now you can basically look at Chaos and Hontai as the same thing now. And then LIJ have clearly moved towards the face side. I mean, LIJ used to be the true neutral of New Japan. They would be heels when they fought Chaos and Hontai, and they would be face when they fought Bullet Club or Suzuki-gun. LIJ now has moved to the Chaos spot, where they are just baby faces. I mean, I don't even think that's controversial at this point. They're clear baby faces now. So that means we need a new true neutral, and I do think it's going to be Suzuki-gun. I think they're going to be heels when they face Hontai, Chaos, and LIJ, but they'll be faces when they face Bullet Club and Empire, and they will start doing more, because they totally avoided Suzuki-gun versus Bullet Club feuds in the past, and I think you'll see Suzuki-gun versus Bullet Club and Suzuki-gun versus Empire, so that I do think will happen. I think they are going to be the new like LIJ true neutral unit, and before LIJ it was Chaos, that was like the true neutral, but before they moved into babyface, so it is kind of how they do things here. But yeah, I mean, if you look at they win their matches more and more cleanly. The Desperado and like Kanemaru still cheat, and Taichi and Zack still cheat a little bit, but not they pin people cleanly a lot. And Minoru Suzuki at this point really doesn't cheat much at all. So
no, he doesn't.
But yeah, I think Suzuki-gun might be the new LIJ style true neutral unit.
And if you notice, a lot of Suzuki spots are now specifically there for crowd interaction.
Yeah.
Just the wind-up elbow, and it's like the crowd just all goes quiet. He's too charismatic, I think, at this point to be a true heel anymore.
Yeah.
The crowd loves him. Same thing with Taichi. Everyone loves Taichi now.
Everybody loves Taichi. Everybody loves even like Desperado. People really like, and there's too many guys in that unit. I mean, I wonder if there are some people who would break off. Like, I don't know, maybe Kanemaru would go to Empire or something. But the unit just seems too. I don't know. They seem too babyface now to be heels, but I guess we'll see. The World Tag League standings after Night 4. We have Evil and Yujiro, Great Okan and Jeff Cobb, Guerrillas of Destiny, and Sonata and Shingo all tied for first with 3-1 record for 6 points. Right below them, you have the Dangerous Techers, Finjuice, Goto and Yoshihashi, and Ishii and Yano all 2-2. And then your 2 winless teams, Tanahashi and Inare, and Fale and Chase Owens. So we'll see if they get a win here at some point in this tournament. The next World Tag League show is Night 5. That will be Tuesday, November 24th, from the Big Palette Fukushima. This again will be covered on the Omakase Patreon. So if you're not a subscriber, patreon.com/Wrestling Omakase. The opener is again Kojima and Honma against Nagata and Tsuji. Your first tournament match, Finjuice against Fale and Chase Owens. I think Finjuice is going to win that. I don't think they're going to have Fale and Chase get their first win off of Finjuice, but who knows?
I don't think they're going to get
the one where I think we might see a first win finally. Tanahashi and Hinari against Evil and Yujiro. I think Tanahashi and Hinari could play spoiler here. I think it would be like a good little feel good moment. So we'll see. And Evil and Yujiro are still already 3-1, so they're going to lose a couple matches because I don't think they're going to win this thing. Ishii and Yano against Guerrillas of Destiny. I expect Guerrillas will win that. Dangerous Techers against Okan and Cobb. That's a match I'm very excited for. It could go either way. I think the Techers will win, but we'll see. And then I think it'll be like another cradle pinfall. Like maybe Taichi will pin Okan or Cobb with the Taichi style Gato clutch or something. And in the main event, Goto and Yoshihashi against Shingo and Sonata. That could go either way too. I think Goto and Yoshihashi could win, especially if Shingo and Sonata are not going to win the tournament. But we'll see. Or not even make the finals maybe. But yeah, that's your next World Tag League show. Before that, we have a Best of Super Junior Night 4 on Monday. at the G Messi Gunma, which is Master Wato versus El Desperado as the main event, which even Desperado was saying in an interview that like the company is testing him by giving him Wato in a main event. So that'll be quite interesting to see what they can do there. But yeah, that'll be tomorrow on Monday. Or it could be today by the time a lot of you are listening to this, but there you go. There's your New Japan coverage. Let's move over to DDT for the opening night of the DDT D-Ou Grand Prix from Korakuen Hall, which was also held Sunday, November 22nd. So this is a tournament with 2 blocks of 7, if you didn't hear my preview back on the Patreon. We went through the entire format, but basically, you have 2 blocks of 7, you have three matches per show, so one person gets the night off on every show. In this case, or one person each block, I should say. So in this case, the person who got off in the A block was Soma Takao, was Yuki Sakaguchi in the A block, and then Soma Takao got the night off in the B block. So that's how that worked. They were both in the opening match. There was an under match. I didn't see it. I don't know if you did. It was Mizuki Watase and Hideki Okatani beating Yuki Onaya and Keigo Nakamura when Watase pinned Nakamura with a Hurricanrana cutback in 5:54. Did you see that?
Yeah, wasn't my gig, but okay. Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, I didn't see it because when I watched the show live last night, and when I watched the live feed, it went right to the tag match, or the 4-way tag. The opener was the only non-tournament match on the main card. It was Yukio Sakaguchi and Saki Akai defeating Soma Takao and Mad Pauly, Toru Owashi and Kazuki Hirata, and Dan Shokudino and Antonio Honda. Sakaguchi submitted Honda with the anal sleeper hold in 7:23. Hirata had a new homemade belt representing who was the best in the DDT Rarity Squad. I thought was kind of funny. What was not funny was the farting sound effects over the speakers when Honda kept giving his own partner, the Gone the Fox to the ass. The same thing happened when Hirata chopped the ass. I don't know. All the ass comedy didn't do a lot for me here. I didn't rate it because it was pretty much all ass comedy. I think people know if that's for them or not. Didn't do much for me.
Yeah, not what I watch DDT for when I drop in. I think if a gun was to my head and I was watching it and I wasn't coming on the show, I would have skipped that probably in the first 2 minutes. But and it was what it was. Some DDT comedy lands for me, but that wasn't it.
Yeah, that's the same. I mean, I like a lot of their comedy, but that just wasn't that funny. So, yeah. Match number 2 was our first D-Ou Grand Prix. So they split this up with like all the A block matches in a row and then all the B block matches in a row, which is interesting. Not normally how companies do it with these, round robin leagues. That was cool to see. So we had the first A block match. Akito defeated Mao with the Octopus Dream in 7:08. This I thought was a weird match. Like Mao did like some slow motion counters, was like literally hiding behind the referee. Was a lot wackier than I was expecting. It wasn't a comedy match per se, but like maybe you'd call it like a chuckle match or something. I don't know. Like the fans seemed to be chuckling a lot for sure, and I think that was the general idea. They traded cradles, and that led to Akito getting the pin. There really wasn't much to this at all. Like I don't think it was horrible or anything, but they just didn't do much of anything. I went like 2 1/4, so like under below average match. Pretty disappointing, given I usually love both these guys. But like I said, they just didn't do anything here.
Yeah, so somebody who doesn't watch DDT a lot, which I guess is the position I take when I'm hopping on here.
You were on the last show we talked about DDT, I want to say for the record.
Oh, well, I guess I'm becoming a regular. There we go. So I liked Akito, though I think part of that was the Naruto opening as his entrance music.
Yeah.
But he was. I liked him a lot better than Mao. I just did. But the match itself wasn't anything to write home about. I was pretty excited in the beginning. They started doing the technical wrestling stuff, and then it devolved into not looking great, and I just wasn't that into it. So I probably went about 2 1/4 as well.
Yeah, just didn't. I don't know. It didn't do a ton for me. Match number 3, Harashima defeating Chris Brooks with the Somato in 11:13. This was great. Brooks came out super hot. He attacked Harashima right away, beat him all over ringside. There was this like great like near submission where Brooks getting this truly nasty armbar on Harashima before he's like just barely able to make it to the ropes. And Harashima like basically just has to like survive this Brooks offensive assault and just barely comes out on top of the Samato at the end. Like he had to live, like get through basically they did this like he did like a counter cutter when Harashima tried like a big dive, and then but then when Brooks went for the praying mantis bomb, Harashima was able to counter it into the short range Samato. But yeah, I mean, look, this was a lot of fun. I went 3 3/4. Just really, really good. Like a little on the short side, but they showed really good intensity. And I bought a lot of the near falls and near submissions. So, a huge improvement on the first tournament match, that's for sure.
Yeah, I really like this match. In fact, I think I messaged you as I saw it. I think Chris Brooks has found a permanent home in DDT, or at least I hope so.
He should never go back to Britain. That's for fucking sure.
Well, there's not a Britain to go back to. It's he's fit great DDT. I think I'm really happy he went here instead of New Japan or some other promotion. Hiroshima looked awesome. They worked surprisingly stiff. I did not expect them to work as snug as they did, but I really enjoyed it. The finishing sequence was pretty hype. I went 4 on it. I really liked it.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot more than I expected to going in.
Yeah, it was really quite good. The next match, which I think you and I are going to disagree on, is Konosuke Takeshita losing to Daisuke Sasaki with the crossover facelock in 13:45. This was, I thought, a lot of fun. We had like a super close near fall early on, with Sasaki like nearly getting the pin off of Rana. Real 2.999 shit. We got another great round of near fall with Sasaki like low blowing Takeshita after pulling referee Matsui out of position, but again Takeshita was just barely able to kick out. Like Sasaki, was really getting like thrown all over the place with the type of offense you'd expect from Takeshita. A lot of German suplexes, a lot of power moves, and you saw like the lariats from Takeshita and stuff. But it was a very I don't know. It was a very, very cool match. I thought the win for Sasaki was kind of surprising at first, but now they're doing I guess they're doing like a broken Takeshita gimmick where he's God, what's the word I'm looking for? Like he's lost his confidence and he's losing a lot of big matches. I mean, he lost to Akiyama, back at Ultimate Party in an awesome match. If people hadn't seen that one, and he lost here to Sasaki too. Apparently, Sasaki backstage, and I got to give credit here to Dramatic DDT, which for this write up here, he has a lot of backstage notes here, and apparently backstage, Sasaki like basically told Takeshita, if you have any doubts, just come to Damnation. And when Takeshita received that message, he said that's one way he could change himself, and then just walked off. That's a great little tease. I can't even imagine like Takeshita alongside Endo in Damnation would be crazy. I don't think it's going to happen, or if it does, it'll only be a very short-term thing, to build to something else. But yeah, that's a really interesting tease there. And again, I want to plug dramaticddt.wordpress.com because I took that directly from them. But yeah, a great match here. I like the storyline a lot, and it'll be very interesting to see where this goes from here.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, the match was fine. Like, I didn't hate it. I just didn't... I guess I had really high expectations going in because I heard a lot about Takeshita, and I just didn't think it was anything to write home about, particularly in comparison to my favorite matches of the night. And I actually liked Daisuke Sasaki. Some of his stuff isn't quite, up to what I like, but for the most part, he seems pretty interesting, and I liked the stop sign gimmick on the first show I watched where he bashed somebody in the head with it. So that stuck with me, and I'm into it. The match itself, I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. I don't know why. I really enjoyed the next few matches, so it was odd to me. But as far as this one, I couldn't get into it. Though I didn't know they were doing the broken gimmick with Takeshita, and I think if I would have had that context, it might have helped.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly forgot too until he lost the match. So I can't really. But yeah,
is that the new playbook for like aces or top guys who lose now? They've all got depression or something.
I guess so. Yeah. Okay. Match.
I don't know how I feel about that.
A lot of depression going around, man. It's 2020.
I guess. I don't need reminded.
But yeah, the B block starts out here. Match number 5. Makoto Oishi defeats Shuma Katsumata with the Fujiyama knee lock in 7:39. This was a fun back and forth match. It had they got like 5 million near falls in here in the 7.5 minutes. I mean, they really they're like, we are gonna fucking fill this 7.5 minutes with every goddamn near fall we can. It was really cool too that Oishi, or not Oishi, Katsumata came out to the ring wearing the NWA shirt. Which that went over your head, I'm sure. But it was the Idol group. They were the two of them were in, along with Mao. So
yeah, I absolutely didn't know that.
Yeah, but it was. This is a lot of fun. I went 3.5 on it. A good match here, especially for the time they were allotted. I thought they really made the most of it.
Yeah, I liked it. I went 3.5 on it, so it was a lot better than I expected going into the match because I didn't really know either of them. I think the right guy won. I really liked Oishi when I saw him, so I think I said I didn't like Oishi last time, but I must have misspoke because that wasn't the person I was referring to. But I vaguely remember saying that. But I think he looked great here, so I liked him more. I think he was my 3rd favorite guy on the show. So match was good. And, yeah.
The semi-main event. Yuki Ueno defeating Kazusada Higuchi with the WR in 11:49. Result again kind of surprised me a little bit. Maybe it shouldn't have since Ueno is a singles champion now with the Universal title. But this was fucking awesome. I mean, not like one of the best matches ever or anything like that, but just like two young guys going out there and like just making the most of the time they had here and really, really impressive stuff. Higuchi caught Ueno on an early dive, slammed him hard in the guardrail, but Ueno gets revenge a little bit later. He does a slingshot Rana to Higuchi on the floor. So he's in the ring. He slingshots himself up and over, catches Higuchi with his leg, which, in reality, Higuchi has to catch him, and he did it perfectly, and then sends him into the same guardrail. That Rana was so awesome.
That spot was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite spots of the night.
There's a pretty unique spot, too, where Ueno, charged Higuchi with a back elbow, but then Ueno went down, basically just bounced off him when Higuchi leaned into a headbutt to, counter the elbow. And then Higuchi hits, a great lariat in the corner. They go back and forth, trading some really high-impact moves. Higuchi was doing, a really good job, selling that he might be out already, even while he was kicking out, managing to survive. And Ueno finally gets the clean pin at the end of a big flurry of moves. A lot of really cool stuff. He had a great moonsault right before that too. Great blizzard suplex. I mean, just some really cool stuff here from Ueno. Ueno's one of these guys that if people watch DDT more, he would be talked up as a really big up and coming young wrestler because he looks awesome every time he's out there. And this was match of the night up to this point. I think match of the night overall. I think I liked a little better than the main event. I went 4 stars on this. Awesome match.
Yeah, so when I watched this, I didn't know who Ueno was. I've never seen him before. And I really liked what I saw. I thought he was great in this match. And last time I watched DDT, I really liked Higuchi. So I thought this match was excellent. I also went 4 stars on it. I thought the finishing sequence was top-notch, and to be honest, it was a lot of what I kind of am missing from New Japan these days. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it was definitely if you're missing a clean finish, 2 back and forth type of match, this is definitely it. I mean, it was a really awesome match.
And Higuchi, so it's interesting because I think Higuchi is also another guy who's just in the right spot. I think if he worked this style in New Japan, he wouldn't hold up quite as well. And he wouldn't stand out as much.
Yeah.
But in DDT, where he's so much bigger than everyone, and he has so many smaller guys to bounce off of him, he's really good here. I think this is a great fit for him, and I'm very happy I've kind of tuned into him now. So even if I don't watch DDT a lot, when I do, I immediately search him out on the card. I'm like, okay, that's he's one of the guys I really look forward to watching.
The main event, Tetsuya Endo defeats Jun Akiyama with the Shooting Star Press in exactly 14 minutes. This started out a little slow and tentative, which is why I thought they were going a lot longer than 14 minutes, honestly. But it picked up with a big space-flying tiger drop from Endo to the floor. And then Akiyama's offense looked so good here. Like, he ran Endo over with a lariat, like, takes him down with these multiple knee attacks, locks his guillotine. Like, if he was going to win there, it would have been fine, because, like, he looked like a fucking world beater here, and he's obviously, 50-something, I think, right? Or is he still in his late 40s?
He's at least in his late 40s.
He's 51. 51.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, and, like, he's still so good. We get the first exploder from Akiyama. Endo kicks out. Akiyama looks for the wrist clutch exploder, but Endo, like, does this great roll through into a really cool cradle for a close near fall. And then Endo comes back with this big flurry. He hits his torture rack bomb for a 2 count. He hits the shooting star press and gets the pin. I couldn't believe that was the pin, honestly. Like, when he went up for the shooting star press, I'm like, okay, Akiyama's going to get his knees up. But he didn't. He just took the move and he got pinned. But yeah, this was awesome. Maybe a little under my expectations, like I said, because I thought at the start when they were like doing a lot of like feeling each other out stuff, I thought they were going to go pretty long. Maybe like at least 20 minutes. And, like I said, it obviously finished up after only 14. But all the high octane stuff towards the end was so awesome. Akiyama looked great as like this big wall and big bully before Endo just like found a way to beat him at the end. So I went 4 stars on this as well. Like I said, I think a little behind Ueno Higuchi for match of the night, but still a damn good main event.
So we only disagree on the thing that this was my match of the night, and I went 4 1/4. I really liked it. Now, granted, I'm a big Akiyama fan. I love Akiyama.
He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, buddy.
Yeah, well, okay.
You're saying that like it's a difference.
Well, I still love his
I have the e-wrestling profiles from 2004 to prove it, okay? When I ripped off his entire moveset and had nothing but exploder suplexes. So you don't gotta tell me about being a big Akiyama fan.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he looked great here. The slow beginning didn't really bother me. It did make me think they were going longer, but Akiyama taking apron bumps in 2020 is, certainly...
I mean, he's insane. I still remember when he first came to DDT. People, Joe Lanza said it. Not even just the only one. I think other people said it too. Like, well, he's coming to DDT to take it easy. He's not coming here to feud with Takeshita or something. His first feud was with Takeshita, and he's working top level guys in top level matches, and he's still fucking awesome. 51 years old, he's still fucking great.
It's interesting. I haven't heard that victory lap on the flagship. Anyway,
Joe admits that's his whole. What's it called? That's his whole formula for success. Is you give the victory lap when you're right, and you never mention it again when you're wrong. So
yeah, right. Well, that one's gonna stay in the holster for a while then, because he's come here to work. I think. I mean, he's looked great. He looks better. He's working harder here than he did in All Japan.
Yeah.
For the last few years, anyway. I mean, he looked great. Endo,
he's clearly just been like rejuvenated by getting to work all these new young guys.
I agree, and because he gets to work a different style of match.
Well, I completely disagree with that. I think he's brought his style to DDT. I think he's imposing his style on DDT, and I think he's
imposing his style, but I don't think he's getting like clubbed in the head by Suwama. So I think,
fair, I guess.
And he's not. He's not. I just think it's maybe a little easier. I don't really want to say easier. I just think it's different.
He's working juniors now, basically.
Right.
Like, he's in a junior promotion for the most part, and he's getting to do a different kind of style. Like, he's getting to, I think, especially that Takeshita match from Ultimate Party was really his style of match. But I think he's getting to work a different, he's getting to work as, the big bully instead of being up against all these heavyweights. That is true.
Right. So yeah. So instead of having to, kind of, I'm not going to say the underdog, but kind of an underdog role against like a Suwama.
Yeah.
Instead, he's able to be the big guy, and he's dealing the punishment instead of getting it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably better on him, especially at this age. But he's been great, and he really he brings fire out of the guys he gets in the ring with.
Yeah.
Your Endos, and I really enjoyed this. I thought Endo looked great. He's a freak athlete, and that just pops off the page every time I watch him.
He has super charisma too.
He has great.
Which is why I've always said Endo versus Takeshita. I've always been Endo because they both have great athleticism. They both pull off their moves like about as good as anybody in wrestling. But Endo has the in-ring charisma to me, and the pop off the page charisma. Hey, Takeshita, I think he kind of struggles with that especially for a guy that's pushed as a big ace. I think he doesn't have the ace level charisma.
Yeah, when I watch him, I don't get what other people get.
I mean, I think he's a really good wrestler, but I just don't think
he's a good wrestler. I don't get any charisma.
Yeah, he doesn't have ace charisma, but it is
how old's Endo?
Endo's like 29.
See, it surprises me. Like, you're big. I mean, maybe they've come to him, but to me, if you're New Japan, you just throw a blank check at the man and drag him over, kicking and screaming. I mean, I think if I was building a junior division, it would be Hiromu and then him.
They tried to get a lot of DDT people over the years, so
yeah,
I'm sure he was one of them.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I just think if I was building a junior division, it would have been. I mean, my priority list would be Hiromu at the top for obvious reasons, but then it would be him. He's great. Every time I tune into DDT, I'm always kind of shocked at how good he is, and I guess I need to quit being shocked about it.
Yeah.
So I went 4 1/4. I really enjoyed it. The height he got on the shooting star was kind of nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in the air for like 2 seconds. He was just. It was. Yeah. So I really enjoyed it.
So the D-O standings after night 1. Oh, so the show overall, great show. I mean, basically, you can skip the opening tag, the 4-way tag, and you can also skip Akito and Mao, honestly. But every match after that was like good to great. And, the 2 main events were awesome. Just a really fun show. It's a breeze. It's only 2 hours. I mean, just an awesome start to the tournament. So, the D-O standings in the A block. Akito, Harashima, and Sasaki are all 1-0. Yukio Sakaguchi is the one guy who hasn't wrestled yet at 0-0. And then Takeshita, Mao, and Chris Brooks all start off 0-1. B block, Tetsuya Endo, Makoto Oishi, and Yuki Ueno all start 1-0. Soma Takao still hasn't wrestled yet. And then Shuma Katsumata, Jun Akiyama, and Kazusada Higuchi all at 0-1. Let's take a look ahead to night 2, which we got a little bit of a break here. Night 2 is not until Friday the 27th. Again, this will be covered on the Omakase Patreon. So we don't have a match order yet, so all I can tell you is what the matches are and what I think the main event will be, but we don't have the exact match order at this time. So this is from the Tokyo Narimasu Act Hall. This is one of the 2 free shows they're doing during this tour, so it's a free attendance. The opener is a tag match with Yuki Onaya and Hideki Okatani versus Tomomatsu Matsunaga and Keiko Nakamura. A block matches, Takeshita versus Akito, Sasaki versus Mao, and Sakaguchi versus Brooks. The guy who has off on the A block that night is... let me see. Oh god, who the fuck is it? Why can't I figure this out? Oh, it's Harashima, duh. So Harashima has off on the second night. I would expect Takeshita to beat Akito unless they're going to have him start off 0-2. Who knows? Sasaki Mao, maybe Mao gets the upset after Sasaki, got the big win over Takeshita. And then Sakaguchi versus Brooks. I think Brooks will win, but that could go either way, really. The B block, you have Tetsuya Endo versus Shuma Katsumata, Kazusada Higuchi versus Makoto Oishi, and Soma Takao versus Yuki Ueno. The guy who has off in the B block is Jun Akiyama. So there you go. No Akiyama for free. I think he does work the other free show, but there you go. Endo Higuchi, that should be... Oh, that's on the 28th. Never mind. Endo and Shunma. Endo will win that. Higuchi and Oishi, I think Higuchi will win that, especially after he lost his first match. And Soma and Ueno could go either way. Maybe Soma wins that, especially since Ueno's already 1-0. But yeah, main event. There's not a super obvious main event to me here. Maybe Takeshita Akito because it's a unique all out versus all out match. But we'll have to wait and see closer to the show what the main event ends up being. And again, we'll be covering that on Friday on the Omakase Patreon, along with the show on Saturday on the Omakase Patreon, the 28th. That has the Endo Higuchi match I can't wait for. And then back here on the free feed, next Sunday, we'll be covering another D-O show. I'll have a guest, TJ, from the One Wrestling Podcast to cover the Best of Super Juniors Night 6 from Corkin Hall and the D-O Night 4, which is their Osaka show. and that show has Harassment versus Sasuke, Endo versus Ueno, some good stuff there. So definitely gonna be excited to talk about that one. Jeff, anything you want to wrap up with here before we wrap things up?
No, other than I'll probably be doing 2 articles in the near future. One on Tanahashi's unfortunate descent down the card, and what that means to me in particular, as somebody who kind of came in off the back of Tanahashi. I wasn't one of the guys who hopped in during the Omega Okada era. Not that I think there's anything wrong with it. I got in for Tanahashi. And seeing, so as you know, since I started watching probably when I was 10 or 11, and so seeing him slowly kind of start working his way down the card now, it's rough, man. And I think it's the first time I've actually seen that with a wrestler I was invested in. So I'm doing an article on that, and I'm doing one on the thing you mentioned with Suzuki-gun, about how they've kind of taken the neutral role and how they've been the MVPs of Japan this year. So look out for that soon.
On voicesofwrestling.com.
Yeah.
There you go. Do you want to plug your Twitter?
Jeff_Andrews21, I think.
Is that what it changed again?
Unless, was that not what I had?
I thought you had it was like Jeff LIJ or something.
No, it was Ika LIJ for a bit. And then, nope, I'm right. It's Jeff_Andrews21.
Okay, so you changed your Twitter again. I'm glad because I'll be looking for it to put your link in the thing. And I would have been very confused. Okay, but yeah, so there you go. Folks, you can follow us on Twitter, of course, at Wrestle Omakase. Wrestling Would Not Fit. You can check out the Patreon, which I've plugged a million times already, but it's patreon.com/Wrestling Omakase, $5, and you'll get to hear all of our tournament coverage coming up this week. Again, Monday, Best of Super Juniors Night 4, Tuesday, World Tag League Night 5, Wednesday, Super Juniors Night 5, Friday, D-O Night 2, Saturday, World Tag League Night 6, and D-O Night 3 with a guest. I mean, just so much Patreon audio coming up this week. So
you clearly love wrestling more than me.
Well, I clearly I have nothing better to do with my life when we're all still locked inside. Well, we should be. Some of us aren't, but I'm staying.
All of us should be. Some of us aren't. That's the best way to put it.
I'm staying inside this week. That is for sure. I'm not going to go to any fucking big Thanksgiving.
Look on the bright side. This will all be blown over by the end of next year when literally everyone has had the disease, because it's just going to spread at that rate.
Yeah. But next week, like I said, TJ will be on here on the free feed to talk Best of the Super Juniors Night 6 and D-O Night 4. And so that'll be the next free episode, so look out for that. In the meantime, folks, thank you as always for listening, and we'll see you next time.